What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. And if you're not, don't worry. I'm sure you're having a better day than this woman in today's story. She sadly finds out that her husband of 20 years is cheating on her with her 18-year-old son's girlfriend. I know, it's insane, but that is actually what's going on. So without further ado, if you're excited for this story, drop a like on this episode, subscribe to my channel if you're new, get ready. Here we go. My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. This was originally posted on March the 17th, 2024. I am a 41-year-old stay-at-home mum. My husband, who is 48, who we'll call Paul, works in finance. We've been married for nearly 20 years. We have two kids, Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the light of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend who is 18, who he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Now, Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his you-know-what. I froze in place in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has an addiction. He's also saved photos of Amy from her Instagram onto his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy lolling. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock that I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed as to how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fed up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any freaking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Now, before we get into my thoughts about this, guys, we have some further information from OP. She continues, to not have my initial post be long-winded because I didn't think I needed to get into the minutiae of this, I didn't bother going into those details. Now, how I inadvertently saw the message was this. He was on his phone. He didn't have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone, when you swipe up and it shows all of the applications that are open and you can close them? Well, when he was closing out the apps, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw that he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you guys are incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Okay, and let's get into some relevant comments. Someone has said, if she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades. Your husband is suspect as frick. Police immediately. OP replied, she's been 18 for 5 months now. I've not been able to gauge when their affair started. I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his texts every couple of weeks, it seems like, so I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. And then finally, OP added this in the comments. Thank you everyone for your overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages. I'll get to them when I can. I'm dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it. But obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can, but please know you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. Now, before we get into that update, I first of all have to give my thoughts on this. I feel like we've started at 1,000,000 miles an hour here. We need to slow down. What on earth has just happened? What is, I've just malfunctioned myself there. What is he doing? I mean, the real question is, obviously, the dad here is just awful. So bad. I want to know in the comments down below, before we get some more context here, how much blame do you put on OP's son's girlfriend? Obviously, she's of age now. She's legally an adult. We don't know if this was going on before she became a legal adult. I reckon it probably was, which is terrible, but we'll see what happens later down the line. But yeah, I'm not asking you guys to comment and say, oh, the dad's terrible. Like, we all know that, okay? What he's done is potentially very illegal and, if anything else, just truly disgusting. How much blame do we put on the girl? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to hear your thoughts. I don't know, because I feel like she's potentially been groomed here. We don't know for sure. But also, I don't know, like, you've got to say that someone that's 3 decades older than her is probably more to blame for this relationship. But yeah, obviously she's still partly to blame. But just how much? I want to know your thoughts. Right, let's get into the update, posted just a few days later on March the 22nd, 2024. Wow, what a start to this one. Now, the title of this update is, I am divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach. Completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed that he talked with her for hours pretty consistently. He also uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. And guys, remember that OP's husband is 48 years old. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits, which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform, and a French maid type outfit too. This guy is revolting. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense that something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic and physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at in my comments after the first post. She clearly has been manipulated in some way. Now, we didn't know this in the original post, but I feel like we are getting to know that now. Let me know again if you agree in the comments. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no rights to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the call. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times that she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Okay, now there is another update to come, but before we get into that, let's have a look at some comments. Somebody said down below, how is your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? OP replied, he hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again. Someone else asked, have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is effed up. I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers. And I know it wasn't mine, so who else's could it be? Wait, so are you saying that they effed in the master bedroom? Well, don't cheaters always use their married bed? OP says, yes, I believe he did. OP also added in the comments, both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mum has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that last point again just sort of supports what I was saying earlier. Now, again, I'm not entirely saying that Amy is not to blame here. Obviously, she is, because she's 18 and she's cheated on her boyfriend. That is a fact. However, she clearly has been manipulated and coerced into this relationship. Again, obviously, she is still to blame, but the massive blame and the culpability of this obviously has to lie with Paul. Now, there is one more update to get into, which isn't actually, I guess, the conclusion of this story, because as you can probably work out, this is a pretty recent post. This is posted on March the 27th, 2024, so just 1 week ago at the time of recording. Realistically, the story is still ongoing, so I'm going to have to look out for it. Any updates that are to come, that is. But yeah, again, just a terrible situation to be in. I mean, imagine being in this spot. 20 years of what you think is happy marriage. I guess OP is saying when she looks back at it, actually it probably wasn't. But yeah, not knowing this and then having all this dropped on you like a bomb is just mad. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the final update for now. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I'm refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I'm concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. Paul calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. Wow, that is crazy. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think that deep down he knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about that Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well for her, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually, but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Goodness me, I'm sorry to interject here, guys, but just imagine being a 15-year-old girl and asking your friends, by the way, has my dad ever been creepy around you? Because turns out he's been having an affair with my older brother's girlfriend. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the colour of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that's been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been saying that in both updates, but I do also want to mention that I haven't really given a word to Eric yet, and that's probably because I just can't quite believe what's happened to him. He must be feeling awful. Mary too. So, yeah, a word for the children, of course, involved, but I think the main thing to realize is that Amy, is a victim here. Anyway, let's see what OP continues with. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all, and has been constantly trying to reach Paul again because she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get a hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes that I took away his devices and that I am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-coloured glasses. Ultimately, that is extremely sad. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying that I photoshopped it. According to her mum, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things that I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. He's honestly a slime ball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment. Maybe eventually though. Okay, so that is it for the post for now. Let's get into some comments before I give my closing thoughts. One Redditor said below, I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. That, by the way, is a great point, and I didn't say it as soon as I got to that moment. But if we remember back, guys, right to the beginning, OP said that she hasn't aged well, and that is one of the reasons why her husband has, I guess, fallen out of love with her, or that she thinks her relationship isn't working. Not aging well is not a reason to fall out of love with somebody. I mean, that's ridiculous. Unless you mean that your personality has got terrible, which you don't, or that you've completely changed, which you don't. You just mean that you've gotten older and probably less, socially attractive. But in reality, everyone gets older and you can't really stop that. It's not a reason to say that, you're falling out of love with somebody because they have a few wrinkles or something, or put on a tiny bit of weight. It's insane. So yeah, I completely agree with that point as well. If your husband, Paul, did use this as a reason for not wanting to be with you anymore or for cheating on you, then that is just ludicrous. Okay, back to the comment. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time, he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully, once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe that something was happening before she turned 18. OP replied, I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too. Someone else asked, Do you think they kept that relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and pig if that is the truth. I'm not sure exactly when things got actually physical or romantic, OP replied, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This mentor and a friend that Amy alluded to had to start right away. And the way she's acting right now, being so indebted and believing every single thing that he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago. Her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be only 5 months of them being together. Yeah, I completely agree. The way she has been manipulated and kind of brainwashed by him, that cannot be just 5 months of seeing each other very infrequently, I imagine, because it's an affair, and talking on the phone a few times. I mean, to be fair, I say that, who knows how many times they were meeting, but it's not as if they were living together. And finally, someone said, if they are consenting adults, then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. Now, OP is handling this the correct way, and if any legal issues come into play, then her attorney will do the right thing. A bit of a scathing comment, I suppose, but OP had an interesting response. The only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation, and that she then opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done. Unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet. Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be fair, you could either wait for Amy to come forward with information, potentially wait, although, I mean, it's a horrible thing to wait, hoping that a younger, underage girl had some sort of sexual interactions with your husband, or I guess soon-to-be ex-husband. Or you could go looking for information yourself. I'm not sure if that's allowed, like if your lawyer is allowed to go and do that and try and see if, I mean, no, of course it's allowed. You're trying to investigate and see what's going on here. And yeah, I mean, if Paul has been doing this, then he needs to go to prison for a long time. So yeah, perhaps it is worth trying to find some evidence to show that Paul and Amy were in a sexual relationship before she was 18. It's crazy even saying those words, but I am, I guess, just a bit gobsmacked by this entire story. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that I agree with OP when she's saying that, yes, Amy is a victim. You guys know I've said that the entire time. Comment down below again what you think about that. But for Eric and for his sister, Mary, that is just so tough. I mean, that is so tough. Again, like, I put myself in that situation. So 7 years ago, I find out that my dad is in a relationship with my girlfriend, and neither my mum, my younger sister, who I actually have, nor me know about it. Actually insane. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this absolutely mental relationship story. Let me know if you enjoyed it down below. Let me know if you've ever been in a situation like this. I hope you have, because it sounds pretty fun. If there's one thing that this family is not short of, it is drama. That is for sure. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. I need to go and have a hot bath.